power of Saturn, we can rearrange the solar system back into a harmonic pattern, and when that happens, you will really find out who we are. And until that happens, we're going to be living in chaos. And that's, again, what they don't want us to find out, because if you understand the power of torsion, technology, and hyperdimensional physics, you will figure out how to create harmonization again. And the powers that want us destroyed and want us to be slaves do not want us to find that out.
Okay.
So Saturn is the coolest thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I appreciate you talking about that. That's fascinating. And I have to say, and a nod here to John Lear, because I did an interview quite a while back with him in which he made a big deal over the ring makers of Saturn, and I guess he met the author, who, from what I understand, was an old man living here somewhere in California.
Yes, he is.
And I don't even know if he's still alive.
He is.
Fascinating.
Yeah, he's in his late 80s, I do believe. And I'm trying to interview him. But,
okay, yes. Well, let me know if you get a hold of him, because I will. Well. Okay, well, there are lots of avenues here to go down. In essence, though, just to bring things back here a little bit, because there are people out there that are kind of hyper over the whole situation, which some people are becoming, obviously. I don't know if you're noticing, but some people are actually losing it, and this is something that was predicted. Some people can't handle the pressure of the knowledge that is basically impacting us and the awakening that's happening. In other words, you cannot just awaken your chakras. You also have to balance yourself within this reality. And that's it's a tricky dance to be performing at this time under these circumstances, and where people are seeing, in the nuts and bolts, people are seeing they're losing their jobs, their bank accounts are going down, and so on and so forth. So they're having to change their entire paradigm, as is the larger planet having to do so. So what we have is a very fascinating cauldron operating here at this time. And I'm wondering if you bring things back just for a second, the information you're getting is that 2012, just for people to hear, is not necessarily when the coronal mass ejection is going to be happening. There are going to be a lot of events, but I'm wondering if you want to address initially, are you saying that you believe that there are 400 years to go, even possibly, or are you leaving that open?
Absolutely. In fact, I'm hoping that there are, and that we can use that as the moment to remake everything. I want to address also what you were just saying, which is about these people cracking up because there's too much knowledge and awakening. And that's why I created my video company, Sacred Mysteries. It is sacredmysteries.com. It's because we offer exercises and conversations and how-tos and all sorts of videos for people to begin working on that aspect of themselves so they don't freak out, and then they are freaking out, and you need to do Tai Chi or yoga or meditate or walk in the woods or something every day, because if you don't, you're going to go crazy, no matter who you are. And so I encourage people to do that. I think we're at this point now where it's critical that we take responsibility for ourselves. We don't want any messiahs. This is another thing that I can't emphasize enough. We don't want aliens saving us. We don't want politicians saving us. We don't want spiritual people saving us. We have to save ourselves. And when that happens, then we finally take responsibility for who we are. Then we can crawl out of the muck, become the hyperdimensional light beings that we are. And another thing that's going on is, before the reason that the Indians have such reverence for the lotus is because the lotus grows best in a pile of dung, okay? And out of the dung grows the beautiful lotus. And out of the crap of this age, the horrid nightmare of oil spills and wars and everything, that pushes us into a crisis mode. And the human mind and the human spirit sometimes needs to be pushed and nudged along before they can consider alternatives. And so we are being pushed toward the place, whether by the Illuminati or the Anunnaki or just history itself, toward the place where we must now consider everything. And that is a great moment.
Yeah, and I think that's well said and very important. In other words, I would like people to understand the concept here, and I think that you will resonate with this. The idea is that as stargates in and of ourselves, we are vortexes, and where you get to the concentration or the alchemy of the human being is where the pressure becomes so great that it turns from iron to gold. And therefore,
well
pressure that people are under, in other words, this cauldron is a magical cauldron. And what's going to come out of it is the spirit, is the purity of the spirit. And that's where you need to concentrate your energy. And now, all of this information that we talk about and that we go down these roads, knowledge, gain all knowledge is one of the ways that you begin to increase your vibration. It's just by knowing. And this is really crucial. In other words, information is not just information. Education and learning is not just that. It has a purpose behind it. What it is doing is expanding you. And so, and I know that you follow this, Jay, and I really appreciate you saying, I appreciate your work, and I appreciate the fact that you have talked about the alchemy of the spirit and that you tapped into that, because I do find it interesting that a lot of people don't understand. They'll talk the talk, but they don't really realize what they're saying.
No, and I can tell from what you're saying that you actually get it, which is rare these days. And so, once we realize that we are in a psychic web and we could communicate with anyone or anything, then suddenly the dynamo of history is altered. And again, this is what they don't want. And and this is why, by the way, the Illuminati is at war with all traditions. If you ever notice, every time the Illuminati take over a place, the first thing they do is destroy all the traditions in the place. Now, they aren't doing that because they hate tradition. What they're doing that is because usually wrapped inside a tradition, whether it be Sufism or the Aboriginal of Australia or whatever, is the secret that you just enunciated. And they don't want that. That's why they burned all the Mayan books. That's why they want the Australian Aborigines to melt back into white society. That's why first thing they do is they bring missionaries in to, when they take over the country, so they can get rid of
destruction of the Library of Alexandria as well.
Exactly. They could not afford to have the light body knowledge, the alchemy knowledge. If you look in history, every time, the Gnostics were people who worshiped knowledge. And the Gnostics were the second biggest religion on earth 2,000 years ago. But you can take a religious history course in college and for 4 years, like I did, and not hear anything about the Gnostics. Even though 2,000 years ago, they were the second biggest religion on earth. So that got me interested in why no one wanted to talk about them. And when I discovered what the Gnostics believed, I realized that they knew that knowledge has a quanta. And the more knowledge you gain, the more of this mysterious Gnostic quanta you gain, and then pretty soon you begin superseding linear thought. And essentially, at the very end of this process, you're rendered speechless because there's nothing more to say. And I think that this is what they really don't want. And the reason that we don't know anything about the Gnostics is because there was a 500-year war against them in which every one of them were killed. And alchemy is the science of Gnosticism.